hills to die on. So today's hill to die on comes from you, and the idea is don't take notes when you study. And I agree with a this in a way, and there's a small way in which I disagree. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And my guess is we probably end up agreeing on the core idea here. But anyways, this is your hill.
So I'm personally not a note taker. I mean, I'm a bad student,
Mm-hmm.
but the LSAT is not a test of knowledge. The LSAT is a test of English, logic, how hard you can work. English is something that develops over time through a lot of reading. I don't think you like necessarily take notes during your LSAT studying to get better at your English. I don't think so. I think probably just read and write a lot in English. Logic, the logic on the LSAT is common sense. I mean, it might take us 5-10 minutes to explain to you that, like, formally the difference between sufficient and necessary, but it's also common sense that a seventh grader understands. And so you just need to kind of practice it. And then the how hard you can work component of the test, especially as demonstrated, I think, by the LSAT's logic games, taking notes doesn't make you work harder. So I don't know. It's similar to why I don't want people to highlight on the reading comp, because when you highlight or you underline, I think you frequently do that as an excuse for not actually understanding. In my experience, when I see students scribbling page after page after page of notes, I don't see them making as much progress as students who are just engaged with me. I would so
Mm-hmm.
much rather have your camera on, eye contact, ask me a question, nod if you understand, shake your head if you don't understand. Give me a thumbs up if you get it. Give me a thumbs down if you don't. Give me one of these if you don't. I don't know. But participate, feel it with me. Let's have a conversation about it instead of page after page after page of like furiously scribbling down every word out of my mouth.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I agree with you 100% on that. It kind of reminds me of like even law school classes, which is a much more like knowledge based test than the
Oh,
LSAT is.
totally. Yeah.
But there's definitely like this weird struggle I had where I'd be taking notes, and as you're taking notes, you're not really listening to what the teacher is saying right then or what the argument, and it's like what you really need to do is walk away with the key idea. You're like, oh,
Especially in the
okay.
first 6 weeks of each semester, right? The
Mm-hmm.
first 6 weeks of each semester, the professor's up there rambling on and on about the Magna Carta and Blackstone and what the law isn't, what the
Mm-hmm.
law used to be.
Yeah.
And sure, it's fascinating. Oh boy, the glorious evolution of the law. But they're
Yeah.
not testing you on Blackstone. That shit's not going to be on your final exam.
Yeah.
They're trying to get you to think like a lawyer,
Yeah. They
which
want you to understand that progression so that you can see how it's happening today, not
right.
so that you can then like provide some exposition on where it was. Yeah. And that's the problem with notes, is because now you're like, wait, what did you just say? And you don't give yourself time for comprehension. Comprehension requires that like you're talking about, that engagement, that like, I'm listening to you. Oh, I hear you. And then when you're walking out of that classroom, you're like, I get it. Like it changed. And you may even make some realizations. The law changed because of this. In your case with the LSAT, which is what people actually care about here, is, oh, okay, yeah, that I understand what the person was saying in that argument, and I understand why that answer choice is better. And then you move on. Whereas the person taking notes is probably like, yeah, I got some key words from the discussion, but I'll have to go back and kind of look at that question to really understand it. Oh, well, that was a waste of time.
the argument, like I'm thinking about LSAT logical reasoning. The argument is there on the page. It says what it says. The question says what it says. The answer choices say what they say.
Mm-hmm.
If you start taking notes, you are necessarily going to be writing down fragments, or you're going to be paraphrasing. You're going to be leaving shit out of that argument. And every word matters. You're not allowed to add to it. You're not allowed to subtract from it. It is what it is. So I'm thinking about the student who, you love this student, right, Ben? Well, but it says most strongly supported. So when it says most strongly supported, I do X, Y, Z.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I just don't, that's what, if when I look over people's shoulders, rest in peace, live classes in person. But when I used to be able to look over people's shoulders and see what they were writing,
Yeah.
that's what it would be. It would be like most strongly supported.
Yeah.
But that that language could be used on a question, or that language could be used on a strengthen question. I have
Yeah.
no idea what we're talking about if you tell me most strongly supported.